Hi there, everybody, and welcome to this month's Audio Production Town Hall. I'm Brian Smithers. I'm the Program Director of the Audio Production Degree Programs, and today we're going to be talking with Mark Kondrat, who is a Product Specialist and Senior Account Manager at IK Multimedia. So first, a bit of background. The Audio Production Town Hall comes to you every month on Monday of week 4 of your current class. To talk about things of general interest to audio production nerds. So we talk about anything from the business of dance music to mixing, mastering, drum miking, cool software, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, is some really cool software. For a number of years now, our friends at IK Multimedia have been have actually been providing free of charge as part of your Launchbox distribution a bundle of very cool software that operates both in standalone mode and as plugins. Mark will tell us a little bit about that bundle and each of the products and demonstrate them. But we're deeply indebted to our friends at IK Multimedia for what is plainly spoken a gift to all of our audio students here at Full Sail. So Mark, thanks for being here. Thanks for all that you've done for our audio students over the past several years, and we look forward to hearing you talk about these products.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. Hello to everybody. This is my second town hall meeting, so I'm excited to be back. I was here, I think it was at beginning of 2022.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah, about the beginning of 2022, so it's been a little over a year. And yeah, I mean, IK Multimedia makes some amazing software, and we partnered with Full Sail a few years back. My mentor and boss, Derek Floyd, who's just a great guy and also amazing musician and amazing guy to work with. He's handed this over to me. He knew that I was really passionate about talking about some of our products and thought it would be a good fit for us to continue educating the students on what they're getting. Like any great gift, it's even greater as you use it and know more about it and put it to good use. So I just want to show you some of the great things you have. Make sure you're putting it to use, and also get you interested in IK a little bit and what else we have to offer.
Awesome, appreciate it. So one of the purposes behind the Audio Production Town Hall is that we get so ingrained in our day-to-day class lives. I've got an assignment due tomorrow, and I've got this thing I need to be thinking about for next week, and I'm in this class this week, and next week I'll be in a different class, and so we're so focused on the task at hand that it's easy to lose sight of the fact that you're surrounded by a couple thousand like-minded people, people who, although you may be spread around the country, are really your classmates. And in an online program, you don't get to literally rub elbows with them, but you're still all in this together. And so the Audio Production Town Hall breaks out of that assignment mode and brings us together, regardless of whether you're at the beginning of the program, the middle, or the end of the program. And I think it's important to take a minute and acknowledge the fact that, that you are one of us. You are a musician, producer, engineer. Can you give us just a little bit of your background so that we understand your perspective?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you're exactly right. I've been a student of music. You know, I knew I wanted to be a musician in middle school. I play various instruments, but my main instrument is guitar. I studied guitar at FIU. I studied classical guitar under Masoud Ozgen, and very fortunate to have him as my professor. And the whole time I was in school, and even before college and high school, I've always been into producing and writing. So I had a desktop in my mom's bedroom, in my mom's house. I had a room in the back where I set up a little studio, and I had my my first DAWs, and I would record my friends and record my own ideas, and just was really into recording. Um, and I used a lot of IK Multimedia actually at the beginning of my career. Like most of us, we use a lot of different stuff at this point. There's so much great software out there, but always loved IK. I had I out of college, I started working on productions, on tours. I had my own projects that I was fortunate enough to be nominated to the Grammys multiple times for productions and for my guitar playing. And still very active. I'm still releasing music, still collaborating. We have a great studio in the IK office, so I use that as much as I can. Everybody at IK Multimedia is a musician too. So I mean, that's one thing you'll find in this industry is that whether you're speaking to a rep from a vendor, or you're at a store speaking to a sales guy, or speaking to like a guitar tech or a sound engineer, most of us began as musicians. We fell in love with music and then found our path. There's so many great paths. That's one thing that's beautiful about music. You could always find sort of your niche and what you're into, or multiple paths. So I kind of wear many hats. There's times where I'm a songwriter. There's times where I'm an educator. But I found IK Multimedia again after many years of using their products. I was able to start working with them. I started as a product specialist doing trainings, going around to different stores, going around to schools like Full Sail. And Full Sail is one school that's really dear to me because I didn't attend, but I have countless colleagues and friends from Miami. You guys are, literally up the street from us. So it's always been a school that I wish I had attended. And so when I was able to get the chance to do the first town hall meeting, I jumped on it. And I just want to continue, showing you guys what you have. I think all of you students are very lucky to be in this program. It's a great school. You learn so much. And you get a lot of great things. Like the pack that we give you is a great pack to get you going. And yeah, it's pretty much my story. Quick, synopsis.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. As I said, a kindred spirit. So why don't you jump in and tell us a little bit about, just give us an overview of what the bundle is that you've been providing to our students.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thanks again for having me. I just want to repeat and thank you for everyone on the team that's making this possible today. So what you guys are getting in your launch packs, I don't know what the exact name is, but
it's called Project Launch Box.
Launch Box, so, yes.
Okay. If you call it our gear package, everybody will know what you're talking about.
Yeah, in the gear package, you're going to get something from IK Multimedia called the Total Studio Trio. For short, it's TS Trio. And Trio because you're getting our 3 flagship software titles. You're getting Amplitude 5 SE, T-Rax 5 SE, and Sample Tank 4 SE. The great thing is that even though these are not the full versions of the software, they have, you're getting over 30 gigs of sounds and samples in Sample Tank. You're getting over 80 different gears and like amps and pedals and effects in Amplitude. And you're getting 10 mixing and mastering modules in T-Rax. So it's a lot of stuff to get you going. And once you get that serial and you register, it's really important that you go on to ikmultimedia.com. You download our project manager, which is what we use to register what you will use to register your software. And as soon as you register your software and you become basically a user of IK Multimedia, you will be eligible for discounts and for upgrade prices and cross-grade prices. So even if you don't want to upgrade to T-Rax, but maybe you want another software title that we carry, you will get a better price just for owning or having registered one of our titles. So this is a great way for you to continue to grow your software titles, whether it's plugins or VIs. We sell both. So we do a lot of different virtual instruments. We have a lot of different plugins for mixing and mastering. And what we'll do now is kind of go through each one. If you want, I'll just start, Brian, like going through each one, or
Yeah, let me just clarify something. So you said even though it's not the full version, and I want to be sure that people understand that these are not demo versions. They are fully functional software.
yes, sir.
But one of the characteristics of IK Multimedia products is that you've got an ever-expanding library of sounds for the sampler and models for amplitude and new modeled gear for T-Racks. So what's not full version about it is that you don't get every single sample and every single processor that's included. Is that right?
Yeah, that's completely correct. As I go through each software title, I will kind of specify on what you're getting and what is available to you. I do like to say in the front end that what versions these are, because if you're like me, you start using it and you're like, oh my God, there's so much more, that I want to access. So I just want you to know that you're getting a lot of stuff, and there's more to get. There's more to expand. And IK is amazing because I remember being not in a production class and not getting these, I studied guitar, so I didn't get any type of package for producing and recording. And forgive the dogs, little dogs that bark. But anyway, the great thing is that IK Multimedia actually offers free versions of all of our software titles that are fully functional. So the only difference between the full version, the version that you guys are getting, and the free version is just how many instruments you're getting or modules you're getting for mixing and mastering, or samples and sounds. And we'll go over that one by one so you know exactly what you're getting. And plus, and trust me, there's so much. You're getting so much that you can do. Like these will get you rolling for a long time.
Awesome. And one of the cool features of the way IK Multimedia software is set up is that the software comes preloaded with presets that include things that you might want to purchase to expand your library of processes and instruments. So maybe as you go through the three programs, you can kind of point out to our students what to watch for to distinguish between the things that they actually have full access to and some of the things that are on the list of, wish list of things to ask for at my birthday to expand my my sound set.
Yes. I played that card for as long as I could with family and friends. Like, hey, my birthday's coming up. I want this software title. I want this. As long as you could get it, you gotta explore every avenue. But yeah, it's really easy to upgrade. There is what we call our custom shop. So within T-Racks and Amplitude, you could easily make like in-app purchases. So like if you for example, Amplitude, we have these different expansion packs, and you could try, that you could use, you could actually run demo versions of the expansion packs that will last 14 days. And if you're like, man, this Fender expansion pack, it's just, I love it. You could buy it right there within the app, in the software, or you can go to your favorite, dealer, whoever you tend to like to buy from, and you can buy it from them. So we're everywhere. You can buy us, or you can go direct to IK, or you can go to your favorite vendor.
Cool, awesome, thanks. So yeah, now with that clarified, go ahead and jump in and show us some good stuff.
Okay, so each of these software titles have a particular use. Now, like most of us engineers and producers know, that the line gets blurred a little bit. So even if I'm talking about like Amplitude, which is guitar and bass amps and effects, doesn't mean I can't run vocals through it, or horns, or percussion. So just remember that I'm going to give you sort of the case studies that they're made for, but there's so, your creativity is endless, and you could really use these on many different inputs and outputs. We'll start with Amplitude. Amplitude is, let me go ahead and share my screen so we could take a look at what we're doing. All right, so like Brian mentioned, all of our software can be run as a standalone, or can be run in any of your DAWs. Today I'm using Amplitude. I'm sorry. Today I'm using Ableton as my DAW, but I tend to use Ableton and Pro Tools almost just as much. So it's depending on if I'm producing or if I'm working with loops, I might be in Ableton, and if I'm mixing or if I'm tracking drums, I might be in Pro Tools. So we won't get too bogged down into DAWs, but they work relatively the same in any DAW. For now, I'm just going to open up an instance of Ableton. I mean, an instance of Amplitude within Ableton. And so Amplitude is, again, it's a guitar, amp, and effects modeling software. It's one of the pioneers. It's one of the first amp and software modeling, amp and effects modeling softwares. IK Multimedia is an Italian company. To give you a quick backstory on IK Multimedia, they're an Italian company. It started in the mid-90s. Our CEO, who's also a musician and a great visionary, was in a studio in the 90s, and noticed that studio sessions kept getting delayed because of gear not working, tubes blowing on tube amps, or compressors, tubes and compressors not working, and having to wait for like engineers to come in and fix stuff. And so he, like many other people at that time, were thinking about, why can't we make software versions of our favorite analog gear? So Amplitude is basically component modeling, which means they take an amplifier and they follow the signal chain through all the capacitors and tubes and everything that's going inside, analog wise, inside the amp, and they make they make algorithms out of that. And, they turn it into a modeled software that we could play. You guys with Amplitude 5, a couple things. I started on Amplitude 3, and from Amplitude 3 to 5, it's been great. There's so many great additions, and every version. So you guys are getting Amplitude 5 SE. There's no difference visually between Amplitude 5 SE, the free version of Amplitude, and the full version of Amplitude. They all work identical. It's just a matter of what you're getting. But you're getting all the same features as far as resizable interface. Your GUI is resizable, which is really great. I think that it's almost like a deal breaker nowadays if I can't resize my plugins, which wasn't always the case. So many plugins before were one size, and that's the size, and you'd have to deal with it. This is great because you could deal with, you could resize it. Everything is drag and drop. So if I want to add an effect, I literally just pull it into my single chain. If I want to change my amp, I literally go through and find a different amp and just pull it into the single chain, and it will change. The beautiful thing about Amplitude is that it does follow, it does have a very visual, pleasing interface, where as a guitar player, you feel like you're still tweaking knobs. All of this, as you're tweaking your sound, you're basically going in and changing everything you would on a real amp. You have access to, with Amplitude 5 SE, you have access to 13 different amps, about 19 different stomp boxes, so 19 different pedals. You're going to get 14 different cabs. So what that means is that I could choose anywhere between On the amp sides, I have everything from American tube amp, American vintage, which are like your Fender amps, and so on. And so if I'm doing a session and I want to get, you know, a certain sound, I could just keep I could keep trying different amps until I'm happy with the sound. Once I find the amp I want, then I can do the same thing with the cab. Um, this is a great actually, this is one of my favorite things about Amplitude is that if you've learned about mic placement, this is great because it's like you basically can tweak mic placement just like you would in a real studio. So if you want to EQ your sound with you know, with all your different parameters on the amp, that's one way to tweak it. But you could also tweak your sound like mic placement. You actually have 5 different mics you could choose from. So I could change out my mics if I want to use a condenser mic, a tube mic, a ribbon mic. I have all these options, so I could swap out mics, and it's the same deal, just drag and drop. And then all these 4 mics are gonna come out, all gonna show up on this mixer screen. So the great thing is that I just have a lot of flexibility, a lot of tweaking that I could do, and a lot of amp sounds I can get. Let's go ahead and show you some of the different sounds I get. So let's make sure.
Yeah, that cabinet miking view is one of my favorite features of Amplitude as well. It's a great learning tool. I mean, you don't ever get enough time as a student or young engineer to actually sit in a studio with the cabinets and a guitar player and the microphones and actually experiment with things and try to figure out how you want things to work and what how much of a difference moving it from here to there on the speaker cone makes. You're usually under pressure from somebody who wants you to make it sound just right now. So this is a great view.
And when you're in a studio, I mean, chances are you're paying for the studio, and you're limited to how much time you have to sit around and like move things around. But here, you could take your time. You could try different combinations of mics, and it actually is a great way to educate yourself on what mics sound, how different mics sound, because all of this was done by modeling real equipment, like real microphones, real amp cabs. One of the things that makes Amplitude 5 sound so good when we compare it to some of the older versions like Amplitude 4 and Amplitude 3 is that for Amplitude 5, they IK Multimedia patented a new way to make their impulse responses. So basically, when they were capturing the sound of the cab, they used something called VIR, which is volumetric impulse response. And essentially what that means is they just took thousands of captures, so thousands of, they built a little machine that would just move like by centimeters and would grab all these different images from the speaker, so that what you could do is you could really go in and tweak mic placement. So you could be, you could set up like really close to the cone, off axis. You have all this ability to really tweak mic placement, which when you talk to engineers, you know, engineers that have worked in studios for many years, they will tell you mic placement's everything. I mean, you know, before you EQ anything, you should really check mic placement.
Yep.
Nowadays, a lot of things that we do are in the box. So that type of, sometimes we don't get that much experience with mic placement. And when we do, like we were saying, we're kind of rushed and we might just put a mic and leave it there and move on. But really, that's where a lot of the magic comes. And some of the greatest recordings, if you are able to find any literature on like the engineer or the assistant engineer, you'll find that probably most of those great sounds came because of mic placement. So this software doesn't leave any stone unturned. This is like literally taking an amp and putting it in the best possible situation you can. On top of that, you could also select your room. So in this case, I think we're in a large studio. No, actually, we're in a hall. We could change rooms to a studio. It could be a small studio, and all of these will sound different. A garage with a lot of reflection, a subway. So all of these are in the. All of this is done, to give you different reflections and different room sound, because a room will also affect a lot how the guitar sound. So with your version of Amplitude 5 SE, you're going to get 6 different rooms, 5 different mics. You could even change speakers. So like your Fender Twin comes with, most Fender Twins come with Jensen speakers, or these American Alnico speakers, but you could change them to vintage speakers, Bulldog speakers, which usually came in Vox amps, British Anniversary. So all of these are going to have these different characteristics and different tones that will, again, just give you different ways to tweak your sound. It's all about tweaking the sound. And then the last thing that's really great is once I have my amp, once I have my effects set, once I have my mic placement and my speakers and the room I want the amp to be in, then I could still tweak the sound with these 500 series modules. So I could put, this is basically like having a mixing and mastering gear in your chain, your guitar chain. So even before I put any plugins on this channel, within Amplitude, I could start mixing and mastering, or at least like start tweaking the sound with outboard gear. And I could use a graphic EQ. You're basically going to get all these different dynamics, which are compressors. I could change it to just a regular, this is like a Fender compressor. One of my favorites is a 500 series of like an LA2A. They call it the white 2A, since they're like have this white look to them. And I also really love this tape cassette module. It gives me a little bit of like saturation and a little bit of like sort of like noise. So this is really cool. And then I have one other instance of where I could put more modules, which is on the master bus, which I could put up to. I could add another set of 500 series effects. So again, you have everything from dynamics to reverbs and delays, EQs, distortions. And again, these are not the stomp effects. These are mixing and mastering effects that I could put at the end of my signal chain.
Yeah.
So all of this is just in, the goal of this is just to keep tweaking the sound and making the sound, almost as ready to go as possible before you even have to, like, before the engineer has to mix or do one plugin.
Right.
So Amplitude 5 is just one of the greatest guitar amp and effects modeling softwares on the market. And again, you're getting a version that gives you, almost 20 different stomp box effects, 13 different cabs, 14 different amps. So you're just getting a lot of stuff. And that's why I said these versions are full of stuff. I mean, you could literally use this version of Amplitude and not run out of effects and not run out of amp sounds. So this is Amplitude. Now, going from Amplitude to T-Rax is not such a far step, because T-Rax is now our mixing and mastering plugins, okay? T-Rax does work as a standalone. You could open T-Rax as a standalone, just software, and like, let's say, import a WAV file. And the first versions of T-Rax were actually, it was like that. I used to master, I had an early version of T-Rax, and I would master my music in T-Rax, and I would just dump a WAV file into T-Rax and master it. But most people tend to use T-Rax in their DAW as individual plugins. So on any instance, on any of these channels, I can open up any of my T-Rax effects. I tend to like to put T-Rax like on my master channel. And so like T-Rax are going to be your mixing and mastering effects, your compressors, your limiters. There's even like reverbs and delays. And all of this is, all of this is basically digital versions of analog gear. Okay, so all of these pieces of all these plugins were taken from real gear that was, again, taken apart. Every component in the single chain was turned into an algorithm, and that's basically how we come to having these plugins. And so you could do a shootout between the real thing and the plugin, and there's not going to be much difference, which is really amazing. So a lot of this gear, like a lot of these gears, if you were to buy a real LA2A, I mean, it's a couple $1,000s. So the fact that you can get the plugin in your guys' case is included in your tuition, it's amazing, because like I said, you're going to get 10 different modules for mixing and mastering, and that alone would probably be worth somewhere $20K plus if you had the real gear. And even then, there's a lot of engineers that prefer to work in the box nowadays, just because of the fact of how you can automate and recall things so much easier. It used to be where you could have a wall full of compressors and limiters and all this outboard gear, and you would be working on a session, and you wouldn't want to jump to another session, because then you would have to change everything, and to recall everything would be like you'd either have to take pictures or take notes, and like your assistant would have to come in, and like it's a lot of work. So nowadays you can jump from song to song, and all your effects are going to be recalled exactly how you left them. So I tend to use my mixing and mastering plugins while I'm working. So I like to always have something on my master channel, but I also like to have, when I'm done with the song, at the end of the song is when I'll start mixing the song, and so I'll use a lot of these compressors and limiters and EQs to just help, make my song or make my, instrument sound better. Let me go ahead and play. I'm not sure if I shared my sound, so let me know if you could hear this. Let me fix something right here. And after I show you this, I'll pull up each of these as a standalone too, so you could see what I mean as a standalone. Because the Amplitude, like I was mentioning, T-Rax as a standalone has a workflow, and you can use it. Amplitude actually is really great as a standalone, and I use it as a guitar player. I tend to use Amplitude a lot as a standalone to practice. I use it, just to make presets, and then I'll pull it up in a session later. It has a looper, so you can actually use it to loop. Amplitude does come with like a small 4-channel recorder, so you can do like little ideas and sketches of ideas inside Amplitude as a standalone. The recorder and the looper don't work within a DAW, but it does work in a standalone, so I'll show you that afterwards. So this is a guitar I recorded using Amplitude, and I'm also using T-Rax on the master just to give me a little more volume and compress a little bit. If I were to take it off, you see how I lose a lot of the compression and a little bit of volume.
Yep.
All right, so it's always good to have something on your master bus, and then on the actual channel, I keep this track. And so on my guitar channel, let's rename this. Oops. And then on the same guitar channel, I can go into T-Racks, and these would be all my T-Racks. So like, here's an 1176. I can put this right onto my guitar amplitude channel, and I can compress inside amplitude, or I can compress with a T-Racks plugin. So it's really just a matter of where you want to do your compression. We also had, like I was mentioning before, in T-Racks, you have a great delay. It's actually one of my favorite delays. I use it quite a lot, and it's called tape delay. There's two really, so it's 10 modules in T-Racks that you get. There's two really special modules that I want to talk about. Maybe three that I tend to use a lot. This is one of them. This is a model of an old tape delay. So tape delays have a lot of cool things about them. They tend to sound a little dirty, so not so clean like a digital delay. And they tend to give some characteristic to the sound. And I could choose to run it synced up to my BPM. And I could control the feedback and the volume. This is my output. So I could use this as an insert, or I could use it as a send. So I could put it on a bus and bus it to whatever channels I want, or sometimes I'll just play it right on the track. I'll put it as an insert and just adjust my volumes and my feedback. So it, you get to where you get a nice sound. And another really special module, and I mention these because these are I tend to find that a lot of guys, even like Urko and like really big name engineers, use these a lot. The T-Racks Saturator X. This is such a great plugin to give. It's not distortion, it's saturation. So saturation sometimes can fill in a lot of missing information and just cause your audio to sound fuller. You could push it and it will sound a little distorted, but basically what you're doing is just filling up the sound a little bit. I love saturators on guitar, obviously it makes a lot of sense, but on hi-hats, sometimes on the bus of the drums, I'll put a saturator. You could do it, you could put it on anything, vocals, and this is a really special one. So T-Racks saturator is in your bundle, and there's a couple different versions, there's a couple different type of saturation, and I could push it and get it to break up a little bit, or I could just sort of use it a little more subtly and it kind of fills up the sound. So I definitely use the T-Racks Saturator X a lot. I use Tape Echo, and I use what I mentioned before, which is the White 2A, which is like an LA 2A. This is really one of my favorite compressors in analog life, real life, and as a plugin. It's just a great compressor. It's got two knobs and it just does the trick. So it can really add a lot of punch to the guitar tone. It's great. It's great for bass. It's great for guitar. And it really works on a lot of different instruments. So those are a few out of the 10 modules. I would say go through all of them, see what characteristics you find that they have, and that way you know when to pull them up and when to use them. But definitely the LA2A, the Tape Echo, the Saturator, those are go-tos. Like you could use on many different things. And then let me talk a little bit about the last the last thing that you're going to get with your bundle, which is Sample Tank. Now, Sample Tank is such a great software. What you guys are getting is Sample Tank 4 SE, and this comes with 30 gigs of sounds and samples and loops, as well as like over 2,000 presets. And it comes with everything from piano sounds to synth sounds, bass and guitar sounds, drum sounds, and drum loops. It's an amazing workstation. It's great for producing, and it's really great for sound designing. So if you're into sound designing, and I'll show you sort of two different instances on how I use it or how you can use it. So I have it right here.
While you're bringing that up, we're starting to run close to our maximum time. We've just got a few minutes left.
Okay.
But the theme here is that when it comes to this bundle of plugins, your rabbit holes have their own rabbit holes that you could go down. So I'm sure that's true of Sample Tank as well, with that many gigabytes of sounds. Sample Tank, Sample Tank, as I recall, actually has multiple audio outputs as well, so you can actually load a bunch of things in there and bring them back to separate tracks in your DAW. Is that still true?
Yeah. That's one way I like to use it. So I'll run. You could do it a couple different ways. What I'll do is, in this case, I have two sounds running through one MIDI channel, and then I have another sound running on a secondary MIDI channel, and I pull up and I'll open different MIDI channels on my DAW. So basically, Sample Tank becomes like the control of those MIDI channels, and so I could run all my bass sounds to like MIDI channel 1. I could run drum sounds to MIDI channel 2, and so on and so forth. That's one way to use it. Or you could also use it to just sound design. You could use it, let's say, three ways. You could use it just as a sound. So like I could sometimes I'll pull up Sample Tank 4 and just open a piano sound and just use it for a piano. It has great piano sounds, actually. There's other times where I'll sound design. So what that means is I'll make the sound, and I might use, so you could open up 8 instances of instruments here. So I might open up 4 different basses, and out of those 4 basses, I'll sort of blend them together to make one bass sound. So in this situation, what I did was I took 2 basses. Let's see. So I have these 2 bass sounds giving me one bass sound. So it's made up of this. Actually, yeah, this guy, which it might be a little low, let me turn it up, which is kind of like a sub bass. I just wanted sort of the low end, but there's no attack. There's no definition. All I hear is like, but I want that, but I need another sound in there to give me some definition. So the inner grind bass is sort of my definition, and the dark string Bach bass is sort of my sub. And together, I have this sound, okay? And I could do that with up to 8 different sounds of bass. And it doesn't have to just be bass. I mean, you can get as creative as you want. Maybe you want to add a percussive sound, a kick sound to your bass track. So sometimes you'll hear basses that are very percussive or have some kind of high-end information. So it's just a matter of opening different sounds. And what I really love about, there's a couple things about Sample Tank that's great. If you want to pick a sound, the first great thing about it is that it has this amazing filter to find your sounds.
Right. So
you could filter by timbre, style, genre, mood. You have all these different, so like say I want a synth bass sound, that's kind of what we're doing right now, and I want it to be aggressive. And now it's going to tell me these are all the synth sounds that have those characteristics. And then I could pull up any of those. We'll just change it to this one for now. Okay, and then on this same page, or on this same view, I can mute, I could solo, and I could change my volumes. Okay, so it's pretty easy way to sort of quickly get an idea of your mixes. But then there's so much more tweakability. I can go into each sound and I could really tweak the sound now by tweaking the filters. There's macros. I could tweak the envelopes, the filter envelopes. So like if I want to go ahead and change filter of the sound, you know, add a little drive. And that's just going to be this sound. If I want to mess with the attack or any of the envelopes, it's all here. And then, if that wasn't enough, I have this other view, which is sort of like the mixer view, where I have now everything sort of in a mixer. So I could still tweak my volumes solo. I can mute. But what this does here is it gives me access to the same 500 series style modules that we have in Amplitude. Mm-hmm. I have them here as well.
Of course you do.
Okay. Yeah, right. So this is what's really cool about Sample Tank. It's, again, I could sort of mix before I get to mixing. So I could really have my sound tweaking. So this has everything from an FM modulator to a channel strip. So like right here, if I want to add a little compression, if I want to tweak, like 10K a little bit. You know, I could add sub or take away some of the sub frequencies. I have a parametric EQ, again, a compressor. Same, and this is stuff from T-Rax. So this is using a lot of the T-Rax modules, but within Sample Tank. And then you could look at it. You have two views of these modules. You can open them up here in a larger view, or I could look at them in my mixer view. Okay. And then lastly, real quick, is if I want to use this sort of as my production center, then I could also send, like I have drums. This 800 series drums now is coming out of MIDI 2, and I'm sending it to this MIDI channel over here.
Right.
And so that way I could just quickly produce an idea without having to open up too much stuff. And I have my bass down there, so you could work on your bass line or try different bass lines out with your drums already there. Now you could do it that way. You could have one sample tank running to a bunch of MIDI tracks, or you could just open up a bunch of different sample tanks. So really, whatever your computer will allow you, and whatever you prefer for your workflow, because workflow is somewhat specific to the person. You know, everyone has slightly different workflow.
It totally is. Mark, that is a lot.
It's a lot, yeah, I know.
Before we wrap up, let me just take a minute and ask, did we have any questions from our online audience?
We do not. We have a few viewers and people excited about what's coming in the project launch box, but as of now, no questions.
All right, super. I didn't want to blow past without giving us a chance to answer any questions that we had. So Mark, to sum up, it seems to me as though those of us who are equipped with this bundle from IK Multimedia have a bottomless pit of self-directed experimentation that we can do, learning about mixing and mastering, about guitar amping and miking, and about sampling and synthesis that can certainly keep us busy till the cows come home.
Oh yeah, and one thing I feel like is so great about our software is that it will work for wherever you are in your journey as an engineer. If you're starting off and just kind of getting into it, there's so much you can learn by just using Amplitude and about mic placement. Even all the way to a seasoned pro who's been doing this for decades. He's going to find a lot that he could do with Amplitude and T-Rax and Sample Tank. The one thing I did want to mention too about Sample Tank, for some of you guys that have your own sounds, you could also drag and drop sounds out of
Nice.
Splice, out of your library of kick sounds, and you could use your own sounds in Sample Tank as well. So it really is flexible. It's the type of software that will just work throughout your career. Like it's flexible enough to be versatile enough that you could use it in different sessions and different genres, and with different type of workflows.
Not to get too technical as a parting thought here, but of these 3 products, 2 of them in recent year or 2 have been bundled with Pro Tools. Is that right?
Yes. So I'm trying to remember what our current, because it always changes slightly. So I think right now, when you buy Pro Tools or you get a membership for Pro Tools, you will get T-Rax, the T-Rax mixing and mastering software.
Okay. But you guys, I'm sorry, but you recommend actually installing from the bundle that you guys are providing rather than installing from the Pro Tools installer. That's a cleaner way to do it, yes?
Yes, and I think it's still going to be the same type of install. So
right.
when it's not like just you install Pro Tools and they're there. You still have to go and install T-Rax through our product manager. Yeah. So you still want to make sure you install, and you can't double install. So like if you get if you download Pro Tools and it offers you some more modules, whatever you already have will be there. And if there's anything that you were missing, then it will install on top of that. So definitely go ahead and install both, so that in case one offers something that the other doesn't.
Awesome.
And again, it's always a little bit fluid. So sometimes it's changing what you get from Pro Tools.
Right.
Just because of the way sometimes those negotiations go. But everything Full Sail has been the same. We've been giving students Total Studio Trio now for a while, so that hasn't changed.
Awesome.
And I can assure you that there's definitely enough there to like mix and master a Grammy award-winning track or album, no problem.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Mark, before we let you go, we do actually have a question from our online audience.
Cool.
All right. So BB chimed in here and was asking about the 1176 in Sample Tank. Could you clarify the version that comes in the lunchbox? Excuse me.
So it's the blackface 1176. It's the same algorithm as this 76 that comes in T-Rax. That's the beauty of all those 500 series modules, is that they're identical to what you would get in T-Rax, but they're already living within Sample Tank or Amplitude, and it just makes. I'll be honest. My favorite thing about that is having access to it already within this software. Because then your sound is hitting your DAW already almost done. The further along you can make your sound final before you do anything to it, like in post, mixing or post production, you would say, the better off you are. And if you start making those choices right away, and this is sort of something I've learned just through the years, if you can make as many choices as you can make going into your DAW, the better you are in the long run, because it causes you to have to not second guess yourself later and be like, oh, well, I'll just leave it like this and I'll tweak it later. It's better just to get it done now and just like it and leave it. And, you could always do some tweaking later if you need to, but get the best sound you can. And those 500 modules will definitely help you do that.
Awesome. Thanks. Appreciate your question. So, the bundle of IK plugins is shipped to you, delivered by email to all of our audio art students at the same time that your Launchbox software is delivered to you. So for our online audio production students, that's like the week before you enter recording principles. So if you're not aware of this, dig through your email and be sure to check your spam folder or deleted items or ignored stuff, but you'll find it there right alongside your Pro Tools license and so forth. There are help files on FS1 about installing and configuring the IK Multimedia software, and they've got a great support team as well.
Yeah.
So
support team is awesome.
They are indeed awesome. Mark, we're so grateful for you taking the time to talk to our students today, and we'll definitely have you back and go down a few different rabbit holes when we bring you back.
No, I'd love to be back, and I will say that last time I was here, I think what you just said jogged my memory. A few people were asking that same question, like, I didn't get that, like, why don't I have it? So definitely every student did get it, so just make sure you go through, and if you haven't registered it, register it as soon as possible, because you can start using this like tonight.
Yep, fire it up and start using it.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate the question we got there at the end. The Audio Production Town Hall happens at the beginning of week 4 of every class, 12 months out of the year, talking about different things every time. And we hope that you will make a point of coming back and joining us. I want to thank the AVT class, Audiovisual Technologies class, for providing great technical support and production for us, and their course director, John Cost. It's been a great pleasure working with you all, and we look forward to doing more shows with you. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you next month.